I'd like to call back the ambassador for a round of discussion, a fireside chat between State Secretary and the ambassador. I have the pleasure of asking the questions, though. So, both of you have spoken about the elevation of towards a strategic partnership. Now, this also comes at a time when India and EU have signed the free trade agreement. So, what are the sort of exciting more possibilities that you see? How is the roadmap really looking in the next 5 years? Perhaps I can start with you, Ambassador, and then we'll move on to the State Secretary.
Thank you. So I think I spoke at least in a very cursory terms, our relationship as it is developing, but let me give a few more background. The declaration of strategic partnership, fortuitous as it was, that this happened this year, was a long time in making. Obviously, my predecessors, our partners in Sweden, they were all working on developing the various dimensions, the various pillars on which this relationship should be based on. But I think the greatest impetus has come from the leadership itself. And if you really see, prior to this visit of Prime Minister Modi to Sweden, a lot of other flurry of activities have happened. EU President and EU Council President, they have both visited India, and where they signed not just the India-EU FTA, which everybody knows about, but also a comprehensive agenda, a strategic agenda, and also a migration framework between the two regions. And if you happen to look at the comprehensive agenda, it's called India-Sweden Comprehensive Strategic Agenda, you would find that it mirrors exactly the pillars on which our strategic partnership is based on. So our relationship is largely based on the larger foundation that is being set and the framework that is being set between India and EU. And of course, EU is a region that has been of a great deal of focus with Indian leadership and Indian foreign policy establishment. If you happen to see and notice, that you will find that Indian Prime Minister Modi has been in Europe far too often that he has ever been before, and he just had a 5-nation tour, and he came back again for the G7 summit and then visited Slovakia as well. So I think there has been a lot of activities here. On the other hand, if you see that there is a lot of visits from European leadership as well. And in fact, during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Sweden, Ms. Ursula von der Leyen herself was here to underline the European context of our relationship. So if you see the 4 pillars that I had spoken about and Daniel also spoke about, they are also the ones that on which our relationship with the EU is also based. So that's the point number 1. Point number 2, you said the next 5 years, how does it look like? So I think the context for this is going to be how it would look like when you are looking from India also. I think Indian development story is going to play a very important role in all of this, and the kind of economic and political opportunities that India's story is going to give rise to. If we continue to develop at 7 to 8%, we grew at 7.8% and so on. I think we will see a greater engagement between India and Sweden. And the target that we have set for ourselves, which is to double the economic engagement in the next 5 years, is going to be not easily achievable, but I think is going to be exceeded. That's my confidence. The second thing that it will depend upon is how we address the challenges, new challenges that are coming up. AI is one where I think we have spoken at detail, but there are other opportunities and challenges also, and how the two regions address those challenges is going to be of a great deal of significance. And I think the fact that we have determined that we will have a strategic dialogue between the two countries means that the leadership is alive to this fact that we need greater consultation on these important issues of our time. And finally, the FTA. FTA is going to play a very critical role in not only in terms of reducing barriers, which every FTA does, but also in terms of bringing a greater regulatory convergence between the two sides, reducing non-tariff barriers, bringing greater predictability in the trade regime between that country, but more importantly, bringing greater investments into both sides. And I will see, I'm going to see, Daniel has spoken about it, but I will see greater trend of Indian companies coming here. Already one company, Tata, I think they invested, I mean, they have not disclosed the figure, but I think it must be close to 800 million to 1 billion or something into Tata in Gothenburg. And similarly, there are many other companies who are looking at increasingly at European Union as a destination for investment. Finally, I will also look at not just India-EU FTA, but you also look at other FTAs that India has signed. India-UK comprehensive economic agreement, and also India-EFTA ones. So that also includes Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. So I think overall, I think what we are seeing in last 2 years is a creation of a framework which gives the pathway for a very healthy and development for the future. So I think this is my prognosis for the next 5 years.
What
But I
about
think
you, State
Daniel
Secretary?
would have some other
Do you share the
perspective.
same optimism, and which are the sectors where you see the most activity really taking place in this 5-year sort of plan really materializing?
No, but certainly, and I would start by saying that the free trade agreement, and all the visits that we had between Europe and Sweden in particular in India, it really shows the strength of our democracies, and that we send a clear signal to the rest of the world that democracies are really strong, that we can have a rule-based world order, and that when we work together, we can really achieve something. Sweden has 300 companies roughly active in India, out of which 100 has production in India. So we already have a long tradition. Looking forward 5 years now with the free trade agreement and the closer bonds, I foresee much more trade. I foresee that Indian products and services, high quality products and services, will enter more into the Swedish market, so that Swedish consumers and companies can benefit from what India has to offer. The other way around, I see that Sweden can contribute with the urbanization boom you have, with all the challenges that comes with, where we have clean tech solutions, advanced manufacturing, mobility solutions, and digital solutions, water system solutions, all of these things that Swedish companies have expertise in, and now can, in an easier way, contribute with in India and in your development. So I'm very optimistic to this. Europe is strong, India is strong, both politically and economically. So together, when we work together, we're a strong force in the world, and that's important.
So interesting point there. I'm going to pick one part of what you said in terms of the sectors that there is a lot of energy that that can sort of play out. That is the technology or the emerging technology space. Now, how do you see young companies, especially innovators and young companies, leverage this strategic partnership pillars as well as the FTA to thrive in both these places and perhaps create for the world? Maybe we start with you, Ambassador, on that? Or
Well,
should
now
we-
you should start with
Okay,
Daniel.
we'll start with the
No,
State
I say,
Secretary.
well, I think it's simple. It's especially the small companies,
Yeah.
the startups, that can benefit from free trade and removing the institutional barriers and the regulatory barriers. That's when, because big companies can always work around that. They have the capacity and the strength, and they can be present in many countries, and they can have people knowing the regulations and work around them. But a small company cannot do that. So this opens up much bigger markets, both for Indian small companies and for Swedish small companies. So I'm very happy about that.
Ambassador, any words to add on that?
So I think India-Sweden economic story has largely been is a large company story. If you really see, of the 300 companies that Daniel has spoken, a large proportion are companies which are very big and which have been there in India for a very long time. But I think the India-EU FTA will probably herald a time when we will see a lot of new age, new generation companies coming in. not just independently, but also as part of the shifting of the global value chains of these big companies. Because from what I see is that Swedish companies are graduating themselves out of the mindset of looking at India as a market and an investment destination to more like a global hub for their operations worldwide. So I think we will see a some of the global GVCs which are sticky, they will be moving towards India, and some of the smaller companies as part of this shift we will be seeing there. And of course, one of the effort of ours is to engage with the startup community of both countries. I think there's so much of vitality there. In India, if you really be following it, you will see that within a very short time, India has now over 200,000 startups. We have almost 12,000 financial startups. We have over 100 unicorns. So I think there's so much of energy in India on the issue of tech and startups, and obviously I don't need to speak about Sweden. Is one of the most innovative country with a very vibrant. So I think there's a lot of possibilities of engaging between those sectors. What I will say is FTA will do, and what our effort should be, is to reduce friction. Because while big companies can take care of themselves, I think reducing friction, creating a more predictable regulatory environment and creating spaces in which they can operate comfortably is very important.
Right. And well, perhaps this would be maybe my closing question, or I might just ask one more depending on how we are on time. But is on the leadership group for industry transition. Now, it was started by Sweden and India at the helm, really. And we will hear more on that even in the panel discussion. But how can that model really be accelerated in a time where there is in a changing world, really? So how do you see that growing? One, to lead IT perhaps 3.0 is what we're hearing about. And get in a lot more partnerships within that and accelerate sort of collaboration. Should we start with who would like to take it first?
Well, that's his subject, right?
Okay.
Well, indeed, Lead It is a success,
Yes.
and we get recognized for it, and that's obviously the most important way of spreading the word. I think what's been so successful is that we have companies collaborating, sharing ideas, developing things together, with the support from the governments as well, so that we include the rest of our authorities, our universities, all of this. And we really show that the hard-to-abate sectors can, when working together, achieve something. Personally, I talk about Lead It all the time when I meet other countries. Yeah. I was in Poland last week, and I advertised Lead It to them. They were really interested because they didn't know enough about it. So I have my ministry talking to them more about this now. So hopefully we can get Poland. We'll see.
So obviously, Daniel has spoken about Lead IT a lot. But I have 2 or 3 points here. One is that Lead IT is a very standout feature of our relationship, because it's an instance where Sweden and India can come together to address global challenges and deliver common goals. I think that's very important. And I think the leadership also recognizes this, because if you see, the 2 prime ministers actually wrote an editorial during their visit, and Lead IT was very prominent part of both leadership's interventions as well. That's number 1. Number 2, I think the Lead IT 2.0 has shown in many ways how successful this model is. So obviously it is limited to a fewer sectors, but those sectors which are very sticky, which are very hard to abate. And I think we have had remarkable success in developing financing and pre-feasibility studies for many of these projects. I spoke to a few of them who have been part of the project, and they're by and large very happy with the way this is going, which gave me a great deal of encouragement in pushing the 2 sides to bring to Lead IT 3.0, because I truly feel that, as you said, that not many people know of it. And I think our ambition should be a lot more than what it has been 7 to 8 years of Lead IT 2.0. I think 7 years of our experience has shown that we should be more ambitious, and we should see that there is a greater conversation around this very, very, very useful initiative.
All right. So, how would, and my last question, how would, say, platforms like this, like Engaging India and other platforms which connect Nordics and India and EU and India, Sweden and India, um, how can we help in getting voices from academia, from innovators, industry out there, and and really grow this symbiosis between the two countries?
So, may I?
Please,
Okay,
Ambassador.
so I think one of the recognition that we have now is that our relationship is largely driven outside the government. You know, if you really see everything, investments, trade, technology, leadership, IT, this is all happening outside the government. So what we tried to do during this visit was, and as part of this strategic partnership, is to create a framework around which all these private non-governmental initiatives can coalesce and take place. So I'll give you example of two initiatives that we did. One is CTAC, which is between Business Sweden and AI Mission in India, and it is a primarily private sector driven again. But what we are going to do is through an MOU, we create some kind of a framework around which the private sector of two sides can interact with. The other is India-Sweden Science and Technology Center. Obviously, we know that there is so much of interaction happening in academia, in private sector, in non-governmental sectors, but in various fields also. But what we wanted to do is to create some kind of a center. It will be initially virtual, but hopefully with experience and with greater engagement, we will be able to create real ones. So there will be some kind of a nodal body around which can coordinate and initiatives around identified areas of cooperation. I can think of many. It can be connectivity, 5G, AI, some of the physical sciences, life sciences, and so on and so forth. So this is what we are going to
Right.
do. We are going to provide a platform on which academia and private sector can interact.
That's good to know, State Secretary.
Yeah, that pretty much resembles the success of the Swedish innovation model, where we have public and private money co-invest in research, where we share the data between universities and companies, where we jointly develop solutions between academia and business. We also invest in talent mobility. In a small country, it's quite easy to see that it's not about keeping staff in the company or in the university, but it's about keeping them in the ecosystem of invention and ideas in a business. I think that model can be used also in our collaboration. I would also want to advertise our office for science and innovation at the New Delhi Embassy that works on exactly these matters, strengthening our cooperation within the areas of smarter cities, green transition, transports, clean tech, digitalization and startups, new materials, etc., etc. So I think we already have good work underway, and I'm sure we can develop it, especially now with deeper bonds.
Sounds good, sounds promising, and hope we will continue this conversation beyond today. Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, State Secretary.
Thank you.